Hello everyone and welcome to our session Building Analytical Applications using SAS Visual Analytics and Azure Static Web Apps. My name is Stefan Stoyanov. I'm a data scientist at Analytical Group, which is an analytics consultancy and SaaS partner. Today I'm joined by my colleague Yuri Shkoda, development team lead, who is experienced in technologies and frameworks such as JavaScript, React, and DevOps. Yuri and I work as a team to conceptualize, plan, build, and deliver analytical web apps that solve specific requirements and business problems to our clients. Here are the topics that we will cover in our session today. We will start with some insights about the opportunities and challenges related to scaling value from analytics. Then we will see how using SAS via SDK and Azure Static Web Apps can help you in conquering the last mile of analytics. We will also share with you our tips on how you can customize and highly tailor your SAS VA-driven web apps to meet any specific business requirements, and how to enable even business non-technical users to easily maintain and manage the performance of your apps. We will try to cover most technical topics with short demonstrations. So let's have a look first at what the opportunities and challenges of scaling value from analytics are. McKinsey Global Institute estimated in 2018 that advanced analytics has the potential to enable up to $15.4 trillion of value across industry globally every year. And with such enormous potential to create value, it is not surprising that more and more companies are investing heavily to integrate analytics throughout their entire business to capture a portion of this wealth. Despite this investment, however, companies are struggling to capture real value. And the main reason is that while they are eking out small gains from a few use cases, they are failing to embed analytics into all areas of the organization. In fact, only 8% of the companies successfully scale analytics, and less than 40% of the analytics models and insights are deployed into production. This is a huge waste of resources without generating real and significant business value. So what is needed to succeed in generating value from analytics at scale? Successful companies invest more than half of their analytics spending on the last mile, that is in deploying and embedding the analytics insights into their operations and decision-making across the whole organization. And also, leaders seek to empower more users across the organization to use analytics insights to drive decisions. The good news is that SAS is here to help. SAS is the leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for Data Science and Machine Learning Platforms, and is the only vendor to be a leader in all 8 years since the start of this ranking. And SAS has the technologies that give you the power to scale analytics. Here's the solution that we want to present to you today. Build analytical web apps using SAS Visual Analytics, SAS SDK, and Azure web apps to embed data and insights into everyday processes. Let's have a closer look at each of these technologies. First, let's have a look at SAS Visual Analytics. SAS Visual Analytics is a core product for data exploration, analytics, and reporting that pushes conventional BI boundaries with augmented analytics and empowers everyone to participate. SAS Visual Analytics provides a vast pool of graphs, objects, and infrastructure interactive functionality. These features can be used to discover hidden patterns and insights in your data quickly as a starting place for more advanced analytics. It also includes SAS Visual Statistics, which empowers you to quickly gain valuable insights from both descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics. In addition, SAS Visual Analytics allows users to perform large-scale automated forecasting. With SAS Visual Text Analytics, you can quickly and tirelessly shift through growing volumes of text data to get the right information to people when they need it. On this slide, you can see the vast pool of graphs, tables, filters, containers, statistics, and advanced analytics, even data mining and machine learning objects that empowers users to interactively generate literally endless insights. So without further ado, let's see a demo of SAS Visual Analytics report that we're going to use to create our analytical web app.
I'm I'm already signed into SAS Visual Analytics on SAS Via and have opened the report that we are going to embed in our Azure Static Web App. Let me walk you through it. The report presents statistical data about the population of the city of Boise in Idaho, US. It allows you to interactively filter data and gain insights about its population across various planning areas and neighborhoods over a period of 9 years. The data is simulated for the purposes of the demo. You see several objects in the report. At the top, you see a text object with the title of the report page and some explanatory text. Below it, you see a text input object which allows you to find a specific neighborhood association. This will filter the data on the rest of the objects on the report page so you can find statistical information and derive insights about a particular neighborhood. Let me clear the selection. Below the text input object, you can see a geo-region map. It shows the 37 Boise neighborhood associations grouped by planning area, where each color is associated with a planning area. You can zoom into a specific area of interest and zoom out. You can maximize the map, allowing you to see the associated data in a table below the map. You can choose rectangular selection to select neighborhoods, which will filter the object to the right of the geomap. You can also use the legend at the bottom of the geomap to select one or more planning areas if you want to focus your analysis on them. This will again filter the line chart and the crosstab next to the geomap. The line chart represents the trends in the population change for the areas you select over a 9 years period. Here we see a general trend of the steady increase in the Boise population. The crosstab below the line chart represents population data about all planning areas and neighborhoods from 2010 until 2018. It uses hierarchy, which allows you to drill down into one or more specific areas of interest. You can filter and visualize data about only one planning area by clicking on the name of the chosen planning area, or you can drill down into one or more planning areas by clicking on the arrows to the right of each planning area you're interested in. If you click on the dots or the right arrow below the crosstab, you will open a text box which contains interactively derived insights about the population, as well as additional statistics such as housing and education. You can also see links to the data sources and when the table was last modified. This is the end of our first demo, where we explored the SAS Visual Analytics report that we will embed into our Azure Static Web App. Now, let's go back to our presentation.
Now, let's have a look at our second tool, SAS Software Development Kit SDK. With SAS SDK, you can easily embed VA content and insights into web applications. Here are the main key points about SAS SDK. SAS SDK is a collection of resources. More generally, SDK will refer to embedded objects. SAS SDK makes it easy for someone to embed insights from SAS Visual Analytics into other applications. You can embed whole reports, specific report pages, or individual report objects. SAS SDK is first introduced in SAS Via 8.4, where guest access configuration is needed. From Via 8.5 onwards, access to the web apps can be authenticated as well. The SDK objects are still powered by your SAS Via server. SAS pushes the conventional BI boundaries and meet requirements with an effective transition from approachable analytics to approachable insights that evolve with your needs, meeting users wherever they are. SAS is designed to be flexible to work with huge quantities of data and scale from small and mid-sized startups to large enterprises through its massively parallel processing capability. Its cloud-native architecture lets you embed smart insights where needed with ease, from web to mobile apps and other systems using a Visual Analytics SDK. This approach helps you and helps our clients achieve unlimited scale without impacting the performance of SAS Via. The goal of SAS Embedded Insight is to make it as easy as possible for your end users to gain value from the insights discovered by your business analysts and data scientists. Here's a visual representation of what we just talked about. From SAS Visual Analytics report, users can publish and share an entire report, a separate web page, or individual data visualization object into their web applications. It is good to know that before you can use SAS SDK, there is a need for some SAS VI configurations. But fear not, they are not difficult to implement, and SAS documentation provides easy to follow guided steps. Security can be set to guest or authenticated user. Additional VIA setup is required to allow secure communication. The required JavaScript can either be installed or accessed using a CDN. Now I'll get the floor to Yuri to present to you Azure Static Web Apps. Yuri, over to you.
Thank you, Stefan. Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending. Azure Static Web Apps is an extremely powerful solution that can help you build a blazing fast web application. Such top-notch front-end frameworks as React and Angular can be used with Azure Static Web Apps to follow the best practices in modern web development. The application can be supported by such backend solution as Azure Functions, or you can build an API app using, for example, Express.js. The application can be, you can also configure CI/CD pipelines that will be triggered on every commit or pull request to run unit tests, build, and deploy the source code to multiple environments. Azure Static Web Apps can easily be combined with other solutions available in Azure ecosystem. To conclude, Azure Static Web Apps is a perfect solution to be used in combination with products to speed up analytical web app development. Here is an overview of the integration of SAS Visual Analytics and Azure Static Web Apps using SAS VA SDK. The diagram also can be used to explain a possible scenario of the data flow of the web app. Here are the key points as follows. The data never leaves SAS VI. No data is stored in Azure. Web application based on Azure Static Web Apps and elements of the page are pulled from SAS VI. The application uses the SAS VI SDK solution to pull the data from SAS VI based on the filters selected by the user. The application is based on JavaScript technology and is built using Azure DevOps in fully automated and tested way. The application code is stored in Azure DevOps in a secure repository with full version control. Now, with this knowledge, let's have a quick demo of how to create an analytical web page using SAS VI report, SAS SDK, and Azure Static Web Apps. In SAS Visual Analytics, choose Copy Link and then configure the link, for example, by enabling guest access and choosing embeddable web component. From here, you should click Copy Link button. I have an Azure Static Web application hosted on Azure DevOps. Here is the source code. I also clone the repository locally and open it in Visual Studio Code. So to embed your Visual Analytics report, you need SAS VA SDK, which you can connect as a link right here, or you can install it as an NPM package. More information you can find in the documentation of this SDK. Also, don't forget to enable cross-origin resource sharing, or CORS, if you need it, CSRF, cookies, and allow guest access if you would like to use one. So it's a React application, and I have a single container called report with a link to VA report. Here, the attribute authentication type is set to guest, but you can also set it to credentials. In such case, you will also need to provide username and password. I also have CI/CD pipeline configured for this demo with multiple stages. The first stage will be to unit test and build the source code. with two jobs, to test and to build. Second stage is to deploy. And you can configure to what environment you would like to deploy. For this demo, I have a single environment called production, but you can also add multiple environments, such as, for example, staging. And you can also password protect this environment to allow access only to the authenticated users. So let's make a simple change and trigger the CI/CD pipeline. For example, I'm gonna change the title of my application. I will save the file. I will commit this change. And I'll push this change to Azure DevOps repository. As you can see right here, the pipeline is running. At the moment, it is running stage, unit test, build, and build the source code. Once the stage is completed, it should deploy the source code to production. While it's running, we also configured access to Visual Analytics report from the local host to speed up the development and to run the application locally. For me, it's a simple script, npm run start, to start the local host with the application. And here it is, Visual Analytics report running on localhost with the port 3000. Let's go back to our CI/CD pipeline. The unit test stage is completed, and actually it doesn't have any unit tests, but you can add as many and as complicated unit tests as you want. Now it's building and publishing the source code. Build and publish stage is complete. Now deploy stage should run. Deploy stage is complete, and we can check application hosted on. This URL, by the way, was automatically generated by Azure, but you can configure it to be something.
Thanks, Yuri. Now we want to give you some tips on how you can customize your SAS Visual Analytics apps to meet any business and end user requirements. SAS Visual Analytics supports open source integration, providing endless possibilities to tailor your analytical web apps content. So you can deliver the right insights in the preferred form to inform the right decisions and speed up greater value generation. Today, we want to present D3.js, a popular open source JavaScript library that creates various highly customizable shapes and graphs. One of the objects in SAS Visual Analytics is called a data-driven object. It is used to integrate such open source designs and objects into SAS Visual Analytics reports. How does it work? The D3.js library provides various shapes. They are embedded into the data-driven object in SAS Visual Analytics. The data in SAS Visual Analytics updates the properties of the JavaScript shape graph. As the object is in SAS Visual Analytics, now it can interact with the rest of the objects in the report. Here is a simple code example on the left that generates the square on the right on the slide. Now, Yuri will demonstrate how to create a custom D3.js graph and embed it into your SAS Visual report and web app. This graph is not available by default in SAS Visual Analytics. It is hosted in an external to SAS via URL. We embed this URL into the data-driven content object in SAS Visual Analytics. This way, The open source graph is powered by the data in SAS Visual Analytics. Yuri, the floor is yours to do the demonstration.
Now I will demonstrate how to create a data-driven component with a custom JavaScript logic. Here I have a component that will draw a D3 chart. D3 is a JavaScript library, and you can use any other library, or you can apply any custom logic as you want. So right here I have index.html, and I put it into public folder just to simplify things. And the final URL of this component is going to be the URL of the application followed by components chart. So here's the index.html, and I also moved away the styles of the chart and put separately the JavaScript logic. So here is the chart.js. I have a single function with multiple nested functions. The most important function right here is on message. And right here we attach a listener to call the onMessage function. So basically this function will be called once Visual Analytics sends the data. And we should check if the data is part of the event object. If it is, we call the ready function, which is responsible to draw the chart. We also have a send message function, and this function will send the message to SAS VA with an updated selection. Let's take a look on the ready function. By the way, I also added a few consolates, so later on when we see this application in action, we can better understand the flow of this component. So the ready function, here it is. So it will be responsible for drawing the chart for us. It also has a few nested functions called select neighborhood and draw legend. Let's see this component in action.
Thank you, Yuri. Now let's add the customized D3.js graph to our report in SAS Visual Analytics. First, I'll duplicate the existing report page and give it a new name, customized. Then I will add a data-driven content object to replace the line chart. Now I can embed the D3.js shape in there. For this purpose, I will copy the URL of the D3 graph and paste it into the URL box in the options pane. Now I need to add data to the object. I will add neighborhood associations, year, and population. The data updates the properties of the D3 JavaScript graph and visualize it. You just saw how easily and quickly, with just a few clicks, we integrated open source design in SAS Visual Analytics data-driven content object to customize a graph and tailor it for the specific needs of the end users of our analytical web app. Once we save the changes in the report in SAS Visual Analytics, the web application is automatically updated. Let's see it. You can see many dots on the chart as well. Each dot represents the population of a neighborhood in a different year. We can see that most dots are under 7,000, meaning that most neighborhoods have population lower than 7,000 people. While the line chart in the standard line chart represents the total population over the years, the main line in the customized SAS data-driven JavaScript graph represents the change in the average population across all neighborhoods over the same period. You can choose a neighborhood to see how its population changes over the years and to compare it to the average population for all neighborhoods. We can see, for example, that the population of West End neighborhood is slightly above the average and has a trend of steady growth over the years. The SAS data-driven JavaScript graph also interacts with the other objects in our analytical web application. For example, from the legend in the geo region map, I can select central bench planning area. Our customized graph will show the average population over the years for the chosen planning area. You can see that the cross table is also filtered. Now, from the drop-down menu in the graph, I can select neighborhood from the central bench planning area. We can see that the population of central bench neighborhood decreases in the beginning of the period, but after 2012 it is growing. Its population is slightly lower than the average population of central bench planning area.
Let's summarize why the data-driven content object in SAS VIA is so powerful. It provides bespoke design, but only where it is needed. It provides easy integration of JavaScript with off-the-shelf charts and controls. Thanks to open source design, any type of chart can be created if you have the appropriate skills. You are not limited to D3. Other JavaScript libraries can be used. SAS is the workhorse handling the data. The power of SAS can be harnessed to process data ready for your JavaScript. Then you can share and reuse your charts wherever there is suitable data. The data-driven content object provides a bridge between your design and SAS. Your design can be seamlessly integrated into your dashboards. The data-driven content allows you to utilize all the advantages of SAS security. The only place your chart is rendered with your data is SAS Visual Analytics. And before the end of our presentation, we want to give you some extra tips on how to empower even non-tech business users to seamlessly monitor, analyze, and manage the performance of your analytical web apps. Yuri, over to you.
Thank you, Stefan. Tip number one is to use SAS jobs. A SAS job is a program that processes data, including the data that fits into your SAS Visual Analytics object. It can be put into a basic HTML form, then it can be embedded into a SAS Visual Analytics report using Web Content Object. Now, business users can execute SAS jobs from the visual interface of SAS Visual Analytics to modify or update their data without the need to leave SAS Visual Analytics or to use a programming interface. Tip number two. Azure Static Web Apps can generate logs about app performance, warnings, and errors. Because such logs will be captured in the front-end app, it might be a good idea to trigger a SAS job and provide such log as a payload. So the data from the log can be saved in SAS VIA and used in SAS Visual Analytics dashboard. Business users can use this dashboard to track, analyze, and pinpoint any performance issues on time. Our last tip for today is that you can provide authenticated access to a visual interface of the staging area of the web app. This way, you can enable them to preview and approve any changes in the app before production. This is a powerful way to enhance collaboration between your data analysts, data scientists, business users, and development teams. Back to you, Stefan.
Thank you, Yuri. To summarize our session, we want to provide you with some key takeaways. Thanks to the virtues of SAS VIA, we can present any descriptive, predictive, or prescriptive insights in SAS Visual Analytics. SAS SDK empowers you to meet users where they are with embedded insights at scale. Integrating open source technologies such as JavaScript empowers you to deliver the right insights in any desired form to meet any end user needs and requirements. By combining the high quality features of SAS Visual Analytics, open source JavaScript technologies, and Azure Static Web Apps, you can provide a superior user experience to your employees, partners, and clients through a modern design and unified layouts across different departments and operations, thus boosting their productivity. In addition, as we saw, you can empower the creation of cross-functional collaborative agile teams to deliver the right analytical web apps. Organizations will benefit from the proven and secure enterprise analytics platform SAS via Azure Static Web Apps, automation and development acceleration features, and the Azure DevOps collaboration and deployment best practices. In this way, decreasing and optimizing development and maintenance efforts and costs allows you to prove business benefits quickly. This marks the end of our presentation. Thanks for attending our session. We hope you found it interesting and useful. If you would like to know more details on how we can support you in building analytical web apps to deliver any desired data and insights to your teams, partners, and clients, and scale analytics to generate greater value, please feel free to get in touch. We are happy to help you to get the most out of your analytics.